Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. During the Kylie Rodney case a few years back, I developed a technique where you put a still frame that is daylight over the top of nighttime video, and then you change the transparency of the daylight video, and you can still see the nighttime video below, but you can see all the details around, and that's exactly what we're doing here in this video. So I'm going to play the full hour of video, and it's going to have this look to it. This is the full hour from 3:30 to about 4:30 of the night of November 13th, 2022, when Ethan Chapin, Xander Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez were all killed by Brian Koberger. He admitted to doing it. That part isn't in question. We're just trying to get all of the different pieces of information together. All right, so let me show you what it would have looked like. It's like if you turn this off, it looks like this. See that? You can't really see 1127 very well, or any of the houses, where the cars are on the street, etc. But you turn it on and now you can see it. Now, the actual image is way brighter than that. It looks like that. But I'm just making it about like 8%, probably about like this, 8% opacity. And now you can see when the Elantra drives by, etc. Even DoorDash. You can see the DoorDash lady walking a lot easier now. You can see everything much more simply. All right, so I'm going to play the video, and it's going to be an hour long. You can watch it. You can forward it to wherever you want to look at, but I think you'll be able to see everything a hell of a lot better. All right, so let's get started on the video right now. All right, well, here we are. We are starting the video at 1112 King Road, 1112 King Road. You can see right now it's 3:30, and the vehicle will be entering into the area at 3:30 and 22 seconds, and here it comes right now. Boom. There's the headlights. This is King Road, and then turns east onto Queen Road, and then we'll head behind 500 Queen Road. It would be really interesting to have this same technique done using the 1330 Linda Lane camera, but I don't know if we have any images from the camera or any video when it was completely light outside. And so right now the vehicle is traveling behind 500 Queen Road. Now at 3:31:18, you'll see the headlights. Look in the upper left-hand corner. That's 1127. And as the vehicle is driving back behind there, the headlights hit the top of that building in the upper left-hand corner. Now you can see the building really clearly. And there it is right there. See that? And then the building just to the right of that is 1119 King Road. And they're both on King Road. And when the vehicle leaves the area, it drives back behind there, and in between 1127 and 1119 King Road, you can see the headlights driving back there. And now that you can see everything much more clear, it's like almost as if it's, you know, just before sundown, or, you know, just as the sun's coming up in the morning. You'll be able to see exactly where the vehicle is and just have a much better feel for it. So right now it's 3:32, and the next action we're going to have is at 3:33:01 when the vehicle comes back out here. So this whole time, after the headlights hit the top of 1127, the vehicle parked, and it's likely parked outside looking into Madison Mogan's bedroom. You know, gauging, is this the time I can do this? You know, just trying to decide whether or not to do it. Probably a dry run. Maybe not whether or not to do it, but whether or not to do it right then. And then eventually he starts moving. So I would imagine right around now he's taken off. And then you can see the vehicle right there. 33301. And then heads north on King. And then we'll head left or west on to Taylor Avenue. Right after this. And there's people inside the house where this camera is. Now look back behind 1119 King Road up there. That's the one with all the bright lights on. There it is. Boom. There's the Elantra, and then you'll see it just to the left right now of 1127. And then at 33513, which is 451 Paradise Drive, the vehicle will be spotted on a camera down there, but we're just showing the 1112 King Road footage. So you just kind of imagine the cars driving back behind up there. You know, we've shown this in other videos. And you can hear people perhaps talking. Some of the sound is just sounds that are like ambient sounds out there that sort of sound like people but sometimes aren't. And you got to keep in mind, at this point, everybody's still alive inside the house. Okay, and coming up here at 33513, which is right now, the vehicle is spotted at 451 Paradise Drive. Twice, two different cameras. And now it's headed back towards the 1112 King Road camera, and thus 1122 King Road. So it'll be 33812 when we see the headlights coming into the area again. And right now it is, it's only 3:35:45. So it might take a while for the vehicle. It's driving back there. It takes a minute or two, so we don't know if it stops for a little bit after driving by the Paradise Drive camera. Don't know. Might have stopped. And we still got a couple minutes here. I'll just let you listen to the audio. I wish we had the answers. This is where I wish Bill Thompson would have asked, like, so what did you do? You seem to have stopped your car. Get every little bit of information out of Kohberger. Even if he's lying, at least he said something that maybe it'll be, some truth mixed in. I thought that was just a real huge cop-out when he said, well, he was just going to lie anyways, so... No, I think there's some other reason you didn't want to do that. I think he was just so ready to get that thing signed that he would do whatever it took just to... Oh, okay, your case is over. All right, 337:44. So soon we should be seeing the car. I think at 338:12 we can see the car back behind 1119 King Road, the house with the bright lights in front of us. This is all in the documents, by the way. I have this on my timeline. And so here comes the vehicle. You'll see it here in about 3 seconds. There it is on the left, and then boom, right there. Driving by 1119 King Road. And then it'll turn in to the complex at 33834. So in about 6 seconds, we'll see the headlights go past the corner of that building. Right there. Boom. And then it's going to turn east onto Queen Road. And let me know what you guys think. I think this is a really great technique for adding clarity and, you know, just sort of being able to see what the surroundings are. So let me know in the comments what you think. So that's 33906. It travels behind 500 Queen Road. And then at 33935, headlights shine up there. So we're getting up to that location on the upper left-hand corner at 1127. We're going to see headlights up there in just a moment. Probably 15 seconds from now. And look up there. There you go. There's the headlights of the vehicle turning up above. And it does stay back there for close to a minute. So at 3:40 and 24 seconds, we'll see the vehicle again. So maybe it stays up there about 50 seconds. All right, we've got another 6 seconds or so, and then you'll see the vehicle right now driving by. And then we'll see at 34101, you'll look up there behind 1119 King Road, you'll see the vehicle driving back behind there because it turned left off of King Road and then went on to Willanta Drive. So it went on to Taylor Avenue, so it turned left off of King onto Taylor, and then Taylor becomes Willanta within like 50 feet, and look up above there, and there's the vehicle right now, and then you'll see it again right there, boom, right behind 1127. And then the next action that's on surveillance footage somewhere, you know, it's not on this camera, but it's on the 451 Paradise Drive, is at 34346. See, that audio's clear because it's inside of this house right here. So we're waiting for 3:43:46. That's when it drives by 451 Paradise Drive. Got another minute and a half for that. we're getting closer. 3:43:46. 35 seconds. And here we go. Coming up here in 10 seconds. So right now, if you go watch my other video, it's driving by 451 Paradise Drive. Right now. Alright, and then 3:45:07, the headlights are seen northbound on Willanta Drive. You'll again see it behind 1119 King Road. But I think at this point he notices perhaps the DoorDash driver. It's hard to say because the DoorDash driver doesn't come in, but there's got to be, he could see down the road that a car was coming, so he continued forward. It's pretty interesting how it all works. But at 3:45:07, which is coming up here, you'll see the vehicle on 1119, right behind 1119 up there, and you'll see it driving, but it does not enter into the complex, because if you look at the timing, he probably would have been on Taylor Avenue at like 3:45:20, and then down the road he could see the DoorDash driver coming, so he would have just driven straight by. Or it's even possible that he just pulled into a side street. There he is right there. 3:45:07. Okay, and it wasn't driving that fast. But then at 3:46:09, the DoorDash driver pulls in. So he may have seen that car down there, and it made him a little nervous to pull in, so he just wanted to look like he was driving forward. He probably thought, well, that car might be pulling in because it's sort of a place where a lot of college students live, and this is the time that some people show up back home after partying, and he may have just driven straight, and there's a spot in a parking area where you can see the house from. Alright, so coming up here in 9 seconds, the DoorDash driver pulls in. And here comes the DoorDash driver. And then you can see by the lights, if you look at the lights on the road there, and just the way it's working, it looks like the car stops right there on Queen Road, sort of in front of the 1122 King Road, maybe not even in the parking area. And that was at 3:46:25. And then just a little bit later at 3:47:08, you can see the Elantra driving back behind 1119 King Road. But this time they're absolutely aware that there is someone there. They can see the lights, etc. See up there? See how it's not going very fast. It's going slow. It's waiting, sort of watching from up there, surveilling. And that's 3:47:21 now. And then the vehicle is spotted at 451 Paradise Drive and does a U-turn, much like it did on the second pass over there. So at 3:43, it also did a U-turn. And then at 3:48:47, it does another U-turn. And it does a U-turn on, I think it's Willanta. It actually goes down and then does a U-turn right back towards where it came. All right, and then right up above, well, it's actually at 3:48:47. It's doing the U-turn right now. And then it looks like the DoorDash driver lights turn on at 3:48:53. I think we just missed that a minute ago. And then at 3:50:27, we'll see the headlights of the Elantra back again behind 1119 King Road. So when it gets to about like 4:08, I won't speak and I'll just let the audio play where you can listen and maybe determine what you think you hear going on inside the house. So it's 3:50:27. We'll see that vehicle here. So just coming up here. 10 seconds. So, let's see. 5. There it is, driving really slow. So look how slow it's driving right now up there. It's really watching the DoorDash driver at this point. So it's 3:50:27. Now again, the vehicle does not go into the complex. And then at 3:51:30, we'll actually see the DoorDash driver walking. And it's much easier to see what the DoorDash driver is doing. And then we'll also see at 3:52:42, again behind 1119 King Road, you'll see the Elantra driving extremely slow again. But here in about 10 seconds, we're going to see the DoorDash driver walking. And that vehicle driving up just there, that was not the Elantra. So see the DoorDash driver standing over by the car, looking at her phone. It's really clear and easy to see what she was doing. Got a way better perspective with this lighted overlay. And then there she goes with her phone, swinging it in her hand. And then walks by another car, the reflection of the phone on the back of that vehicle. And then at 3:52:42, we're going to see the Elantra driving incredibly slow again behind 1119 King Road, and then again to the left of 1127, the building in the upper left-hand corner. And that's the house that the headlights hit as the vehicle's turning behind 500 Queen Road and 1122 King Road. All right, so here we go. We got 4 seconds. And there's the vehicle. See how slow it's going up there? Very slow. That's not that vehicle. All right, and then at 3:53:36, you can see the headlights again back there. So it went back there and then did a quick U-turn and turned around. And so that car right there is just another vehicle that the DoorDash driver saw, and it drove away. I think she thought that was Koberger. All right, so coming up right now, 3:53:36, we're going to see the Elantra back behind 1119 King Road again. And it's going to be driving slowly. Well, that time it went a little bit quicker. That's right. That's right. That time it went quicker because now it's just, he's getting frustrated and antsy. And what's interesting about it is at 3:53:36, he drives by King Road and then parks somewhere over there for about, I would say, 3 minutes. And in fact, that's the next item on the timeline, which is 3:56:24 as it enters into the complex for the third time. And what's interesting about it is recently it just sort of dawned on me that you could tell what direction the car enters on King Road by looking at the lights, the headlights on the building in the upper right-hand corner just below the 3 there. You can, as the car turns coming from the right, so heading west on Taylor Avenue, and it turns in, the headlights hit that building as it's turning. So pass number 1 and 3 both have that, and pass number 2 and 4, the vehicle comes in heading east on Taylor Avenue, and the headlights hit that building, likely that green building in the upper right, or another building just before that as it's turning in, and we don't see that. So that's how you know for certain that the vehicle actually came in from either the right or left onto King Road. So the next time frame here is 3:56:24, which is a little over a minute from now. And that'll be pass number 3. And when he comes in, you can see how he's slowly driving in, observing, waiting and watching and looking at the, where the DoorDash driver is. I don't know if he knows it's DoorDash. He just knows that there's this vehicle that's parked in the vicinity of the house that he wants so desperately to go in and kill at least one person, but he ends up killing 4. All right, so we just got another 13 seconds here. And the vehicle should be entering in on King Road. And here it comes. And this is pass number 3. But see how it's driving a little slower. Just kind of, you can kind of tell what's on his mind. And then he's back behind 500 Queen Road. And then at 3:57:27, you'll see the headlights again in the upper left-hand corner on 1127. So that's going to be 3:57:27. So look up there. It's going to be up there in about 8 seconds from now. You'll see the headlights turning up there. And there you go. That's the vehicle behind 1122 King Road in that back parking lot area as it's driving behind 500 Queen Road and turning. And then at 3:58:23, we see it over here. So it did stop for a little bit up there. Stop for probably 40 seconds or so, 45. 3:58:23, it'll drive by. And that was, sort of interesting up there. You could see a reflection in that upper window of 1119 King Road. And there's the vehicle reflection in the middle window. That is the Elantra. And that is at 3:58:23 as it entered into the scene, and then it exits. But look how slow it's going. It's still, like watching and looking. And then it goes back up onto Willanta Drive right now. And you'll see it at 3:59:04. But he was so frustrated he does another quick U-turn up there. So just look up there. You'll see it driving. Very slow again. In 2 seconds. 1, 2, and here it goes. Look at that. That's probably the slowest he's driven. He can see that DoorDash driver. Hasn't even delivered the food yet. And then it drives down a little ways and then turns around and comes back. Now it's right around in this time where there's sort of this key fob sound that I thought was associated with the DoorDash driver. But unfortunately, we can't hear it in this camera, so I don't know if we can still associate that. It's not really that important. It was just something, piece of the puzzle to put together. All right, and then at 4 o'clock and 14 seconds, you're going to see the headlights again driving back behind 1119 King Road. Now this time he does not enter the complex again because he can see that the DoorDash driver is still there. It's crazy. So see it driving slow again right there? He can see the DoorDash driver. You're in my way. Get the hell out of here. And then right at this time, I think he could see, the headlights on or whatever of the DoorDash driver. And look, the DoorDash driver is leaving really soon here. So it's just barely behind Kohberger's vehicle. So when this DoorDash driver pulls out here, Kohberger's vehicle is probably a little bit past Band Field down there. So that means in front of the DoorDash driver, Kohberger's vehicle is probably, a few hundred yards, couple hundred yards in front of her. And this is when Kohberger drives around and, goes by, I think it's Ridge Road, and there's two different cameras there. So at 401:30 and 401:43, Kohberger drives by the Ridge Road camera. So he's already right there now. And then after driving by that camera, that's the one that got really good footage of it from the side. That's the only time he drove like that. And then he drives all the way around, but does not set off the camera that was on Paradise Drive, 451 Paradise Drive, because it took a quick right, and there isn't enough light or enough movement able to be detected by the camera to set off the motion sensors turning right. When the car came down and did the U-turn, when it first comes down, you can see it on the left, and then it does a U-turn, and the motion activated camera keeps recording, but there was no motion when it turned on this route right here. It turned up, and then it's going to head back, and it'll be back into the area at 4:04 and 20 seconds. And this will be for pass number 4. And there's still people awake inside this house right here. So we got about a minute to go before Kohberger's vehicle enters into the complex for the last time. In fact, it comes in at 4:04:20 and then drives back behind 500 Queen Road and then back out here again. And what's great about having this overlay is you can see that Kohberger actually, I think, thought of parallel parking between those two vehicles that are out on the street. The one that you can see in the right-hand side of the window between the grate, the grate of the sort of the deck wall there, I guess. And then there's another vehicle out on the street, about a car length and a little bit more behind it. All right, so now we're at 4:04, so we're almost at the time. We got 20 more seconds, and Koberger's vehicle is going to be entering into the complex for the last time. And I mean, it's crazy. So there he is up above. He's still kind of driving a little bit slow. Now he can see that there's nobody there. He knows that there's nobody there anymore. And this is go time for Koberger, but he's not absolutely certain, because he probably realized that that vehicle was in front of the house. And I think that's actually why he did the 3-point turn behind 500 Queen Road. So here it is. It's going to enter into the area at 4:04:56. So you can tell how slow it was driving. Look how long it took just from back there to get over around here. So here it is, driving really slowly. And then that little quick speed thing there, that's because sometimes these videos, when they record, they just have little jerky motions like that, especially surveillance footage. I've seen it many times. So right now it's driving back behind 500 Queen Road. If you're a conspiracy theorist, you'll say, oh, look at the edit of the video. I mean, that's just what they do. They say that in every case. There's nothing new. I'm sure you've heard people already say that. There's this one guy that puts green filter on top of the screen and goes, look, it's night vision. It's like, really, dude? Night vision is a camera that, based on the heat signatures out there, etc., or the luminosity, film in a certain way. You can't like do it after the fact and put a filter on. It just doesn't work that way. But if you're watching something like that, you probably think, oh my God, this is amazing. It's absolute trash. All right, now this is right when the vehicle did the 3-point turn. Look how the headlights hit the top of the building, and as it comes down the hill, because there's this hill back there that goes really steep, comes down, and you'll see the Elantra pull right here on the Queen Road. Now look how it sort of stops over here. Now we can see what it maybe was thinking of doing. Look, it's right here. And he sort of tries to back in, it looks like, to that little opening there. See that? And then he's like, I don't think that's gonna fit. Man, wouldn't that have been crazy if he did park there? We would have seen him on camera get out of that car and run back to the car after to get the hell out of there. So there it is, doing its 3-point turn at Queen and King. And this is the last time we see this vehicle until it speeds away at a high rate of speed at 4:20 and 47 seconds. And so right now it's driving back behind 500 Queen Road. And then we'll see at 4:07 and 47 seconds, you'll see the headlights hit the top of 1127 again. See over there? And that's right before it parks. Now, I think it parked down the street a little bit, just to the side of 1112 King Road. And then when he did blood spatter mitigation, etc. So here comes the headlights up there, right there. See that? Kind of slowly driving, and now it's going to park. And then I think the car parks for a while. I think what he's doing here is he parks behind Madison Mogen's room, and he's looking, waiting, and watching. And then at some point, you can barely hear, it sounds like well, not just barely, you can actually hear a car sound, and I think that's him moving the vehicle to the side of the house, because now he's ready to go. And then he, placed some items on the ground, etc., got ready for blood spatter mitigation, then went inside the house, and he killed all of the victims. All right? So I'm just going to let this part play, and you can listen and see what you hear, and then I'll jump back in after it heads away at a high rate of speed. All right, now it's 4:20 and 44 seconds. Murphy's barking. And look how fast Koberger's going here. I mean, this is ridiculous. Look back even behind. Look behind 1119 King Road. I mean, my God, he like double the speed, triple, and he's out of there. All right, so Koberger's out of there, and there really isn't much more that goes on. There is a vehicle that heads out at some point, like 423 or 428, something like that. It's not relevant to the case. We just saw Koberger, the killer, take off, and right after he's killed, Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Xander Knodel. Absolutely brutal killing, monster. And now we hear Murphy barking away. All right. Well, anyways, I want to say thank you for everybody for watching the video. Let me know what you thought of this technique. I used it a couple times before in the past. I think it really helps see what actually is going on in the scene using the overlay. All right. So I want to thank you all very much for watching. And don't forget to hit that like button for me, share the video, and subscribe. Oh, and as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there.